Welcome to the Ladies Kickin Ass podcast, where we raise our voices and honor the badass achievements of women in the service industry. Get ready for empowering conversations, inspiring stories, and a whole lot of ass-kicking energy. Join us as we redefine what it means to be bold, fearless, and unapologetically YOU, babe. This is your platform, your community, and your source of inspiration. So buckle up, get ready to rock and roll, and let's show this world just how much we can accomplish. Welcome to the Ladies Kickin Ass podcast. Hey, Ladies Kickin Ass. Oh, today I have a treat for you because my friend Sheley Brien is with us. And this woman, she kind of does it all. She's got an incredible backstory. She is resilient as hell. She's out there just making things happen. She and her husband own a construction business on the commercial side of things. And we're going to have a really honest, authentic conversation today for you ladies that are in the skilled trades or home service industry. Now, this can be residential or commercial because we both work in, I work residential and commercial. They're very focused on commercial. But there's so much to learn about one, being a woman in the trades and in the home service industry, and what a superpower that is, and how being authentically yourself can really help you build your brand and become a staple in the community. Also, just like the importance of going out and building your network and why networking and community is so incredibly important when it comes to building your business. So Sheley, thank you so much for being with us today.
Are you kidding me? Thank you. I am so excited to be here. This conversation is going to be so fun.
It is going to be a blast. We've already been talking for like 45 minutes because Sheley and I can never stop talking, which is why I love this conversation. And I'm sure there will be many more podcasts after this. Sheley also has a podcast. So we're going to throw this out right at the beginning in case you miss it at any point. It's called The Business of Being Healthy. We recently just did an episode together that was so good. I have gotten so much feedback on that. So I know this one is going to be incredible as well. So why don't you give us a little bit of your backstory, Sheley, if people don't know who you are and why you have landed in this construction trades industry yourself?
So crazy. And thank you so much for obviously the warm welcome, but I just love talking about the past because I don't want to settle on the past, but I think it's good to understand and to look back to where you are right now is a direct reflection of all of your experiences in the past. And you couldn't be doing the things that you are right now if you didn't have those valleys, those peaks, whatever it was for you. So I started in the financial industry. I raised a book of business about $17 million in 2.5 years to then realize I didn't want to be in that industry anymore. I then went on to the pharmaceutical industry, spent about 18 years there between two companies. And it was a great experience. I had many roles from sales to marketing, helping train teams. I loved it until I didn't. And I always say like in the Matrix, I took the red pill on corporate America. And as soon as I did, I was drinking the Kool-Aid like crazy, but as soon as I did, I could see right through it. And I could see that my values were not aligned with it anymore. Everything kind of goes out of order for me because some things overlapped. About 8 years into my corporate career, I was starting to get a little bit bored. So I actually started a side hustle, which was a website to buy and sell high quality reining horses. I compete on reining horses, my daughter and I. And I started that about 2012. And in 2020, I had left the pharmaceutical industry. And actually, let me step back. In 2018, that's when I had actually left the pharmaceutical industry. I bought into a franchise because I thought it would be really fun to open a business with zero restaurant experience. That turned out to be a very expensive education that I never wanted because the franchisor committed fraud and misrepresentation on all of the documents. So I had to close it 11 months later, lost 7 figures, all kinds of learning opportunities through that. That was a really big valley that I had to come out of. And I came out of it right when COVID was hitting. So then now it actually turned into a blessing because I was able to be home with my kids when school shut down and everything was going crazy. So again, it was a blessing in disguise that happened. What I also recognized is in 2020, there was a need for education and entertainment within the equine industry, and specifically the sport that I competed in. So my business I had started in 2012, I morphed into a media company, which then for the next 2 years that I just shut down, at the end of 2022, we reached over 3.2 million people. I did about 9 live events that were 2 to 4 hours long, all digital, had a full studio, full crew. It was such a fun learning experience. To then realize that in 2022, what I had done was created a business out of my passion. And now I was sharing that passion with my daughter. And we would go to competitions where it was such an opportunity to spend time with her and make memories. But I was negotiating deals, making contacts, getting sponsorships. I was doing the business, which was pulling me away from my experience with her. So I decided to actually shut that down. So we're in the process of selling that one. That being said, Chris has been having our construction company. We're celebrating 6 years. I did a lot on the back end. So while I was doing all of that, on the back end, I was helping with the construction company. But then when we finally looked at everything that we had going on and really where Chris and I wanted to go, it made 100% sense for me to come into our construction business in a more forward-facing role. And it has been an incredible year in 2023. So I share all of that to be like, we could not be doing what we're doing this year with our construction company if we hadn't gone through. And Chris has a story too, right? If we hadn't gone through that, we've been married 18 years, together 22. Like we've built everything that we've had. We've lost everything that we've had. We've built it back up. Like we've done it all together. And so to be where we are right now, we had to go through all of that. And it's fun looking back now and laughing and being like, what the heck were we thinking? But it was a lesson that we had to learn. And so here we are now in the construction company, and we focus on commercial properties only, and we absolutely love it.
That is incredible. I would love to hear if you were giving someone advice, because I think there is a lot of spouses that work together in this industry. My husband works with our business. You guys work together in a business. How do you guys do it? And you're still married and you still love each other and like each other. Because sometimes it can be very, very challenging, especially if you are working with a spouse and you two have very different work styles. How do you guys do it?
It's so funny. I've been getting this conversation a lot and I love having it. And I don't have all the answers. So I'm just going to share kind of some of the things that we do. And I just shared this, or actually, I think I just created this. It's going to be coming out. My team will pull it out on social media. But the best advice we have ever received that I shout from the rooftops is don't ever stop doing the things that brought you together. So we think about that in everything that we do, and we take it very seriously. Wow. And so we have date night every Wednesday. We have day date every Friday. And we make sure that our most important partnership is us. And so when there's friction, we remind ourselves we have the same goal. Like, hey, our end goal is the same, but right now we have different ways of getting there. And it's more about like, let me hear yours. I'm going to hear yours. And then we're going to like decide which one is going to be the best to get us there. So we still have friction a lot, I mean, there is so much going on in the business and with the kids and horses and dogs and house and all the stuff that we just always come back to us. That is probably the biggest thing that I can share with everybody. And we're also very blessed that each other's strengths is the opposite person's weakness. So we balance each other really, really well. I'd say we both are challenged communication wise. So we have always been working on like, let me be very clear. Let me set up what I am wanting from you in this moment. So communication has been really important for us to continue to evolve. Holy cow. Especially as the business is growing, like different problems are coming, right? So we have to be able to communicate that to
Yeah.
each other.
I love what you say about that because my husband and I have very different communication styles. And we often, I'm like, you don't communicate. And I know in his head, he just doesn't say it. He's thinking, you don't either.
Yep.
It is I even wrote that down. Don't ever stop doing the things that brought you together because that is so important. We do that too. Like every Saturday, we have a date night and don't schedule other stuff because that is what we're doing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We just need to get better at not going to the same restaurant all the time. And we actually have to do those things that we used to love doing instead of just saying, okay, well, we did date night because we went to Thirsty Lion and had dinner and drinks again. We actually like went out to the concert and we went out and did the fun things that we used to do together and make the time to be able to do that. It really is so important to do that. And I love what you said about acknowledging what your own strengths and weaknesses are, and acknowledging what that is in them, and then not trying to make them you. Because I think that is a huge problem that a lot of us have been through that, and we've tried to do that. And like, I need you to communicate like I communicate. They're not going to. He's
Mm-hmm.
very good at the analytical side of things. I'm very good on the other side of those things. You have to use those things in synchrony with each other instead of like the headbutting of how different you possibly can be. Because I think, man, it's so easy to fall into that. Well, I do this and you don't do this, which is what I hear often when people work together. But really finding out like how can you help me? I think that's one of the biggest things you can do if you work together is sit down and talk about what you're struggling with and how you can help each other. Because once you start seeing that and people start following through in that, you're like, huh, you can really become each other's best assets instead of thinking that, the other person is a liability because they don't do what you do.
Well, and I think, I mean, there's a few things there is first off, the most important people that are watching are our kids, right? So we
Yes.
are truly the model for them. And both of us
Mhm.
had parents that were divorced and ugly divorces. And so there's a lot of, experiences there that we had that we want to make sure our kids don't have. So that is very important to always remember that we are modeling for our kids. The other thing is that, date night is like I said, there's a lot out there when people talk about date night and it's like, you have to go do these big dates and do these big things and you cannot talk business and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, we talked business when we were dating. We talked aspirations. We talked about what we wanted to do and how we were going to do it and what we learned. Why wouldn't we do that now? Like, so we talk business on our dates. And for us, we did two things. We went to the movies and we went and sat at bars. Like we just would talk.
Yeah.
We'd sit at the bar. We'd become friends with the bartender. It was super fun.
Yep.
And so we actually, our Friday date is at the same location every single Friday. But we go in, they know what we want. We know the bartender and we just sit there and they have great Wi-Fi. So if we need to like pull up something and work on something really quick because we have a meeting together, it's really important. That being said, this is something that I just implemented this week and it's been, it's a N of one, but I finally said to Chris, I was like, so we have our dates, but I was like, you and I need a meeting and like, here's where we're meeting. We're meeting at the office. This is what we're going to talk about. We're going to have an agenda. These are the things we're really going to like get very strategic on this. Like we do, but we almost like know each other. So we just like move around the office and like can handle everything without even talking. And I know where we're going. We actually need to become better strategic leaders on how we're going to communicate that and how we're going to communicate with each other. So like yesterday, today's Friday, yesterday, we had our first meeting and I was like, this is great. I scheduled 60 minutes. We got 30, got to be flexible. And it was super powerful. Coming
Good.
to the table with that.
That's great advice too. It really is, because sometimes you just keep going and keep going and keep going, and you assume that they know what is going on, and vice versa. And then sometimes you're like, "What the hell is happening?"
What the hell was he
Guilty,
thinking?
guilty,
Right. Yeah.
guilty.
Yeah. It's like, I had all these expectations for you and you didn't do it, but I didn't tell you what my expectations
Yes.
were.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, so huge. So, so huge. Um, with that being said, I would love to just have a conversation around how you feel or what you think women bring to being in the skilled service and home service industry. I think we're starting to see more women than we've ever seen before in this industry. I think it's a superpower for you to have a woman leader or a woman owner of these business. I
Mhm.
do feel like they are run differently. I feel like there is a more personal touch that is brought into them.
Mhm.
I would love to hear why you love being in this industry and what you feel that you bring when, because we're all still working with a bunch of dudes. We are.
Mhm. Mhm.
How do you show up authentically yourself as sometimes the only woman in the room?
You know what was funny? A few stories kind of came to mind. One is I remember, I will go to the job site. I don't go a lot. A lot of it is for like content I need to get for like our marketing. Um,
Mhm.
Client interactions, more on the financial side. So, you're kind of doing all the things. But I remember I had to go to a job site once and I was like, what do I wear? What am I going to wear to this job site? Like, this is what do I wear jeans? Like, should I wear our branded attire we have for our crew? Like, I was like, what do I wear? And I wore these jeans and Vans because I love Vans. I wore jeans and Vans, and then I had a t-shirt. It wasn't a branded shirt, but I just wore this. And I remember like I was like, I don't feel good. Like, this isn't me, but like I'll blend in on the construction site. I won't look so weird being a girl on the construction site, what have you, right? And I got there and I hated it.
Mhm.
I hated every minute. I didn't hate being on the construction site. I hate how I showed up. And so, because I never want to blend in, I don't want to like stand out like I don't need my hair purple to be like, hey, look at me. Like, I don't need that. But like, I
Right.
want to show up as me. And I didn't show up as me that day. And it pissed me off. And I have never done that again. It actually triggered like a whole bunch of events because I was like, I am never doing that again. And like, I'm stylist now and like all of this stuff. And so now, like, I was at the construction site yesterday and I was in like leather pants and like, a great shirt. I was showing up. I was but it was me and I loved it and I felt
Yeah.
great. And so that didn't necessarily answer your question, but I just want to share that because I think it's important, no matter what industry you're in, quite honestly, is that you don't morph to the industry. The industry morphs to you. So however you feel, you show up. And so
Mhm.
if that's like, seriously, I was in fitness for a while. If that's showing up in gym clothes, because that's what you feel confident in, do it. Like, this is
Yep.
something, even with my daughter, she had her first middle school dance. We got 3 outfits and it was like shorts, jeans, and this little skirt I wanted her to wear so bad. And she put them all on. They were all super cute. And I was like, what do you want to wear? And I was like selling the skirt, right? And I'm like, I knew I could tell. I was like, this is a bad choice. And she goes, you know what? It's my first dance. I want to wear the shorts because that's what I'm going to feel best in. And I was like, done, done. Yes, that's what you
Yeah.
should wear. You spoke your mind. Go for it. And so it was just a good reminder. Like, you show up as you and don't change. Um,
Yes.
and I feel like construction, it's interesting. It reminds me a lot of the financial industry because when I was a financial advisor in my kind of group of new recruits, let's call it, like, think boiler room, I was in the bullpen. It was me and there was 12 seats, me and 11 men, right? They'd throw the football over. We were doing our cold calls, like building the business, whatever. And it reminds me a lot of that. I love actually working with men. I love it because it's very simple. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, it's just very simple. They're there to do the job. And they know like what the job is. There's lots of clarity with them. What they lack is like drive. Sometimes I'm speaking in generalities. I should be careful with this. They just lack the drive and the clarity to see consistency, because a lot
Yep.
of times they'll kind of like bounce here or there. In that pool of 11 brokers, you know, there was 12 of us with me. There was only 3 of us that actually made it. You had like a 7-month time to where your salary
Mm-hmm.
decreased and you were full commission. I was making $400 a day. I was closing the business. I was 20 years old and or 22 years old. I raised $17 million. Like, who gave me this money? It wasn't about that. It was the consistency, the fact that I could listen to what their needs were. And I just was relentless. I would not give up. And that's something that I feel like we can do is when things, Chris is very good at this actually. When things he always finds a solution. It's one of our core values is how can we? There's always a way. Don't tell me you can't do something. How can we? And so I think that is something that women too can really bring in is we find solutions no matter what.
Yep. Yes. How can we? Everybody needs to write that down, and you need to hang that somewhere in your office, because that's just, I mean, that's a life slogan. That's a relationship slogan. That's a team slogan. That is everything. It's not, like so many times when my son was playing football last night and he's like, I couldn't catch that kid. I just can't do it. And I'm like, can or can't, you're right. It really truly is that mindset shift of like, how do we, like, how can we do this versus like, we can't do this. I don't know how to do this. Oh my God, that drives me crazy. Well, no one showed me how to do this. Figure it out.
Be
It is like
resourceful.
having
Yeah.
that mentality of resourcefulness. Yes. So
Mm-hmm.
huge. So,
Yep.
so huge. I think that's something too that women bring to this home service and skilled trades is the resourcefulness of stuff. Because many times I've worked with men my entire life.
Me too.
So from beer to septic, from construction to, all these, like on a bunch of dudes my entire life. But it really is sometimes the lack of creativeness of like, how can we go about doing this? Even if males' minds are very A to B. I'm like, we could go down here, we can come here. It might take a little bit longer, but we're going to be able to hit it instead of like hitting this wall that we can't get over, and we're going to keep trying to hit the wall and bust through it. So I think that's something like in my own business, the consistency thing has always been the hardest part with my field technicians is getting the consistency of the photos, getting the consistency of the notes, consistency of, this is what we do on every single job site. And I have really realized that as women too, I don't know if it's because like the mom in us or the nurturer in us is a little more, instead like guys being like, do your damn job, and like just getting at them. I like to take the approach of more of like coaching. And sometimes I need to give you a list. Like, if I give you this list has to be checked off. All these need to be uploaded. And the difference in just providing them with a few extra tools has substantially changed the way that my guys do their work out into the field, which I think is a female touch of let's go about this a different way instead of, this is the way we've always done it, which I've heard my entire life.
Yep. And it's interesting because even in like the horse industry, it's totally and specifically the sport that I compete in, it's very male dominant. There's a select few females that are professionals. That being said, every male trainer I know has a woman on staff to care for the horses because of the attention to detail, the things that they will do that others won't. And again, I don't want this conversation to go like women are better. Rah! Like there's a lot that Chris does specifically that I idolize. We have like this saying now because like as women, we can internalize, to your point, right? We're like, if there's like a problem or something, it's like, we're like, okay, we're going to take it on us to find the solution. And then we like spend all this time and we like fester on it almost, where
Yeah.
Chris is like, he something will happen and it would have triggered me like nobody's business, not for anything other than I'm a woman. I know this is just how
Yeah.
I'm wired. Right. And I'll look at him and he's like, I just went on with my life. And I'm like, God, that's so freeing. I'm like, and so there's things that will trigger me. And instead I'm like, I just went on with my life. Like, I don't let it in. And so while I think there are some things that we do so great, I also like truly idolize that ability to be like, I'm not going to let that bother me. Water off a duck's back. And I just went on with my life. And I can't, like, I have really in 2023 been working to embrace that. Am I fully there? Hell no. I don't think in my genetics I ever will be, but it is in certain times it'll stop me. And I'm like, nope, I just
Yeah.
went on with my life and here we are. And it was so much easier.
Yes. Oh, I need to practice that so much better too. Or the implementation of like, I have this severe still of like, I want everybody to be happy. And I'm like trying to kumbaya all the things. And like, I'll come home and talk to my husband. I'll be like, son of a bitch. And I'll start talking about all this stuff. And he's like, yes, that's what you should say to them. And then I get back to work and I'm like, so how was your day today? And nice as pie about everything because like, I'm not a huge fan of, in my head, I think this has to be a confrontation. It really doesn't. I just feel like I can be more of myself and express my emotions to my husband, which you obviously don't want to do to your team, but like just being able to get in the middle of those two things,
Yeah.
instead of trying to make everybody happy all the time. This is the rule, and this is why we're going to stick to it and not apologize for them feeling bad or maybe making them upset because this is a rule in our business. So I have learned a lot from that too. And I think that's why it's so great that we have partners that we work with inside of our business because when you really look at each other's strengths
Mm-hmm.
and you really reveal those, it's like a good partnership is you have the strengths that are weaknesses for the other person and vice versa. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why a partnership exists in the first place. Because if you've ever had a partnership where you're both trying to do the same damn thing, rarely does it work out well. Been there, done that too.
I'm like, been
And
there,
so,
done that. Yep. Been there, done that.
yes.
And I look at the
Yep.
end, I was like, well, that was silly. Why did I do that? That was destined to
Yeah.
fail from the beginning, a business relationship. And like, it's not
Sometimes
like
we
one.
carry that forward too, though, because we're like, we want you to be like them. But then you're like, remember why that one blew up in the first place? So you really have to understand who brings what to the table and then
And,
celebrate the hell out of it.
and this is something that I remember being in corporate and it used to infuriate me because they would always be like, they had their corporate review system, right? And I think
Mm-hmm.
reviews are important. We have to track if we want to make changes. Like
Sure.
it is incredibly important. But it was like you had to fit into this box. And if you didn't fit into this box, then we would work on your weaknesses to make you fit in this box. And I would always
Yeah.
sit there and I did training forever. I loved being able to train people. And I remember I would sit there and I'd be like, I'm going to work on strengths. Or when I train people, I'd be like, you're so good at this. Let's do this more and that less. Like, why do we need to always find like the weaknesses to beat on? And it really brings someone down. Find their strengths and be able to like leverage that. You can hire out, you can outsource weaknesses all day long. That's something
Yeah.
in our conversation before we jumped on, recorded here. I was like, I'm finding bottlenecks and I'm the bottleneck. Let me get out of the way. So does that mean I bring on a
Yeah.
VA? Is that a team member? Is that a system, software? Like, what do I need to do to get
Yeah.
this system set in place and go play in my strengths more?
Yes. Most of us need to really sit down and analyze that.
Mm-hmm.
That was a challenge. That's the word I'm looking for from my business coach. And she was like, sit down, and write down all the things that you're really good at and write down all the stuff that you put off because you don't like to do it or it's not one of your strengths. Hire those people.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out how you can live over here instead of constantly trying to improve your weaknesses. Why do we do that? And it's such a default for so many people. As leaders, we do that with the people that are on our team. We're like, well, they're not doing this. Okay, but they're really good at this. How can we do that? And how can maybe they're not in the right spot. So how can we help with that? Maybe they're just not the right person anymore. I'm going through this with my business. I've had somebody there for a while, just not cutting it anymore. I need more experience. So I have to eliminate this position to be able to afford to bring in the higher talent. But I know that what got my business to this point isn't going to take it to the next one. So you have to make those tough decisions sometimes and really put the right people in the right seats on the bus to be able to get where you want to go. But really focus on where it is you want to work in your business. I love marketing and sales. Somebody makes me sit down and do financials all day, it is like punishment. What takes somebody probably 2 hours to do takes me 10 because I'm so like, it's such a brain flip for me to do it. Can I? Sure. Do I want to? Hell no. So I have to constantly like I'll be, reconciling a bank account, and then all of a sudden I've bought $100 worth of shit on Amazon I didn't need just because I'm like trying to find an escape so I don't have to do what I was supposed to do. So guess what? I just hired an office manager, and now guess what they get to do? That I don't want to do. And so many times we wait because we think, can I afford it? Should I do it? Can I bring these people in? Can I hire this outsourced team?
Mm-hmm.
Take a leap of faith and do it. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to
Yeah.
end up doing the same shit you're doing right now. I mean, literally, that's what's going to happen. It's going to
Well,
come
and
back to you.
and sometimes you have to like reduce it down to the ridiculous, right? You have to be like, okay,
Yeah.
it's you and me, financials, same boat. Is like sometimes you have to be like, okay, I you can basically get down to your hourly wage based upon like whether you want to use revenue or profit. Like, here's what
Yeah.
I actually bring and make per hour. And if I'm spending 10 hours on this project that my brain doesn't work that way. That's why there's so many people out there. My brain doesn't work this way. Okay, well, now I have now lost the company this much. I have lost this much money. I could instead take that money and invest it into something to be able
Yeah.
to do it so much more efficiently. And that's where I think when we let our feelings into it too much, and that's something that we do as women, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's when we start owning it. We start feeling that no one controlling it. We start like feeling like no one else can do it as good as us and what have you. I want everyone to be better than me. That is around me. I want everyone to be better than me. Let me learn from you. Let me do this. That's one thing that I will say that it was funny with the restaurant. I had a team of 24, right? And it was a bakery. So we were open 24/7 in the sense that we weren't open to the public, but I had crew there 24/7. And I would have my way of doing it and I'd show them the way. And then I'd come in the next morning and everything was there, but I'd have like a debrief and they did it all backwards,
Yeah.
all different, all this. And at first I was like, you're wasting hours. Like this is this. And then all of a sudden I was like, what's it matter? They probably found something more efficient and we got the end result that was the same. I really don't care how you got there,
Yeah.
but here is the expectation for the end result. So like that was a learning lesson for me because I was like, no, my way is the best way, right? It is the only way to do it. And that team quickly taught me, and we actually were able to efficiently cut half the team down to 12. And so it was like the best people got the most hours and they did the job and they did it the way they wanted to. But the end result was always the same. And I was like, this is so much beautifully. This is like wonderful. So much easier. So we implement that a lot right now. We have standards. We have significant standards in our construction, especially in safety. But the end result is the end result. And there's a level and a standard that it needs to meet, period.
Absolutely. That's what we were just talking about, like the difference between men and women. There's more than one way. We're thinking of like, oh, there's 7 different ways I could do this. And the man's like, I'm gonna get it done. You know? Or some women are like that too. I'm like A to B, like let's just cut the out all of the fluff of everything.
Hmm.
And my husband's like, or we could do this and then we do this. So we kind of role reversal in some of that stuff too, in the way that we think about things. So it really isn't just specific to genders and the way that they do those things, but really like knowing how each other works in that. And that can be your teammates too. I think as business owners, many times we hold on to way too much shit because we're like, you don't do it as good as I do. If they can do it 70% of what you do and the job is getting done and it's getting booked and you're making money off of this thing, let it go. Let it go. I always associate it with like the first baby, the first babysitter. And you're like, are you going to love them and talk to them and look at them perfectly and do this? By baby 5 that comes, you're like, dust it off, put it back in their mouth. Can you keep it alive for an hour? I got to take a shower. Like you just don't even care at this point. Can we get the same result? Is the child still going to be happy and alive at the end of this? Great.
Check.
Let's do it.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
everything is just so different. And I think that's what's beautiful about being able to grow in the business is recognizing this. If you
Hmm.
see yourself at a place where you're like, I got to hire people, really sit with yourself and be like, what is my acceptable standards, like you were just saying? And as long as people are hitting that and they know what they're being measured on to see if they're successful at their job, you can have some of the most badass people ever on your team. And waiting to hire them is you waiting to meet those badasses that are going to help you build your business because we can't
Yeah.
do it by ourselves.
No, we can't. We can't. And I think when you understand um, your standards and you're crystal clear on them, another one of our core values is equally yoked. We are running the same race at the same pace with everyone. So that's our clients, our subcontractors that we work with, everyone on our team is we want to make sure that we are equally yoked. And that means us too, right? Like we are also
Yeah.
leading by example, that we are setting them up. And I think when you have all of those like core values and standards, it also brings into proximity all of those same people that have gotten
Yep.
crystal clear on what that is. And the more that we could bring in, we have an incredible group of subcontractors. Some that, I mean, we had to go through some, it's just like hiring, right? Like we had to go through some that we were
Yep.
like,
Oh,
wow,
yeah.
we will never use them again. But now we know. And so there's certain things that we can now find. It's just like building a team, but it all starts with us. It all starts with us.
Yes. And you will, I love that you said that and brought that up because I just want to touch on that. You will have people that will disappoint you, that
Oh
aren't
yeah.
going to do what they said they're going to do for your business. Be slow to hire and fast to fire and move on and know that you're not alone. This happens to everyone. This is part of the growing phase. It will happen to everybody. But really knowing that stuff, that's like the biggest piece of advice for anybody new getting into business that is planning on hiring people. Take your time hiring people because the
Mm-hmm.
good people, you like, I put them through at least 3 interviews, at least, and a project if you're going to be working on projects with me. Or we
Yeah.
make you come do ride alongs in the truck with us. We'll pay you for the day. But guess what? We're going to see what your work ethic looks like when you're out there because you can tell me you're awesome. I want you to show me that you're awesome. And if
Mm-hmm.
people aren't willing to go through that, you don't want those people on your team, anyways.
Nope.
So
Nope.
take your time, take your time, take your time. This has been so incredible. And I know you and I could just talk forever and ever and ever about all of this stuff. But if you were starting over with your service business and you had to, let's say someone is listening to this and they're either starting over with a new business or they're just thinking about creating a new business, what is your number one piece of advice to that person?
My number one piece of advice would be to get crystal clear on what you want to do and then stay focused. You know, entrepreneurs, business owners, there's a visionary component. Even if you're an integrator, you have a visionary component, and that visionary component is also known as like shiny object. So you'll see needs that need to be fixed, right? And that you can create a solution for. And it could be in this industry, that industry, what have you. You could bounce all over. Stay pick the one and go all in and stay committed to that one. Like for us, we're in commercial construction, period. Right. And so that is very important to us because a lot of people will kind of wane and go back and forth. We are crystal clear that aligns with what we do. The more clarity that we've gotten, we have shut down. I told you my whole background. Chris has a very interesting background too. And we shut down like it is all in on this construction company. And as soon as we did that, it is exponential what this business has done because all of our efforts are on one thing. I have my podcast. Yes, I have absolutely my podcast, but I have a team to be able to help me with that because my focus still needs to stay with the construction company.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
That is super important because many times people will start and be like, but we could do this, but we could do this, but we could do this. And then what you start your business out doing, you end up not doing in the first place because you're just chasing one opportunity to the other instead of creating the ones that you know are already there. So, or nurturing those relationships and those customers that you already have instead of constantly trying to find new ones. So that is absolutely incredible. Well, Sheley, if people want to connect with you, where is the best place for them to find you?
I would say the best is probably Instagram or LinkedIn. Just my name, Sheley Brien. It's spelled funny. I know it'll be linked in the notes, but it's Sheley. So Sheley spelled with one L. And I would say those are the best two that I am on, and YouTube. I'm trying out YouTube. I'm learning. I'm having a lot of fun with it. So if you're on YouTube, come over, subscribe to my channel, throwing out lots of content.
Excellent. Excellent. We'll definitely put this up. So we'll tag everything over to you on
Heck yeah.
YouTube as well so that you can have that. Sheley's podcast is absolutely incredible. So if you are looking, like she talks a lot about health, a lot about self-care, a lot about being a woman, entrepreneur, a mom, it dabbles a little bit in everything, and it is such a beautiful podcast. It is something that I look forward to listening to all the time. It is definitely in my top queued list, and I just love learning from Sheley. Ever since I have met you, it's just so many things. I'm like, ooh, this would be a good conversation to have with Sheley. I think like having women in this industry that you can bounce ideas off of, even though we don't do the same kinds of things, is just so incredibly important. So your friendship means so much to me, and just being involved with you and learning about all the cool things that you find and being able to collaborate with people. Find these people if you don't have them in your life, because it is so incredibly important to have them. So Sheley, I love to ask everybody this in closing because I'm fascinated with how it resonates with everybody. So I'm going to ask you, what does the phrase ladies kickin' ass mean to you?
Ooh, I love that. Before I answer, I just got to say thank you, obviously, for your kind words. Thank you so much. But truly, when you meet somebody and you're like, oh, I like her, you were that person. So I love the conversation that we had off air today. And obviously this one that we recorded, we'll have lots of fun in the future. And you are something that is just so special. So I'm so very grateful for you.
Thank you.
So as far as ladies kicking ass, I mentioned this earlier. For me, it's just about being relentless. Life is hard. Life is just hard. I mean, at the end of the day, it's freaking hard. I'm blind in one eye. We didn't even get into that. Like, I had an interesting childhood. I'm not going to say it was bad. It was just an interesting childhood. Like, I've lost a lot of money. We've made a lot of money. I've had hardships, good things, whatever. The thing is I'm just relentless. And for me, it's just about like understanding life is hard. Okay. And then I moved on with my life. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, this is going to be hard. Great. I'm ready. Let's go. I know I can do this. Like, that is something that I think is just knowing is what we all hear and see on social media about, I built this business and now I'm a millionaire and here's my $10,000 months or $100,000 months, like all bullshit. It's stay consistent, be relentless in your efforts, and know that you are worthy of everything that's coming.
Oh, that's one of the most important parts of everything that you just said there. Being relentless and then accepting what you actually get when you work your ass off to actually get it, because a lot of us end up rejecting it once you actually have worked your ass off to get it. So a relentless woman to me always knows what the obstacle is and then
Mhm.
says, and what are we going to do? You know, just like you said before, how can we?
Mhm.
That's what a
Yep.
relentless woman does. And that is totally a woman that is kicking ass. So thank you so much for that, Shelly.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
Thanks for being part of the Ladies Kickin Ass community. Cheers to all you badass women out there. Keep rocking your power, igniting your fire, and making waves in the service industry. If you loved today's episode, please do me a quick favor. Take a screenshot, post it, and tag us at Ladies Kickin Ass. Be sure to include the link to your favorite episode. Your support in spreading the word means the world to us as we aim to empower even more women. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for more kick-ass episodes. And don't forget, a 5-star review is the ultimate high five. Connect with us on social media. All the links are in the show notes. Thank you for being part of our tribe. Now go kick some serious ass, lady. Hey there, ladies. Want to supercharge your personal growth journey with insights from the best in the business? I've got a treat for you. I have been raving throughout many of these podcasts about this incredible self development app called Growth Day. Imagine learning from industry powerhouses like Mel Robbins, Ed Milet, my girl Lori Harder, Brendon Burchard, Mel Abraham, Lisa Bilyeu. Oh my gosh, there's so many more. And guess what? Every Wednesday, they teach live that you can watch them and interact with them through this app. It's so incredibly cool. Beyond their wisdom and live coaching sessions, there is another incredible feature that I am obsessed with, though: the journal section. I use it every single day, whether it's either to brain dump, reflect on my feelings, remember things for my business, or dive deep with our brilliant journal prompts. I'm never at a loss for words when I sit down to journal. How freaking amazing is that? And because you're part of our podcast family, there's a special treat awaiting you. Click the link in the show notes below to check it all out. Embark on an incredible journey with Growth Day. Remember, every new day is an opportunity to grow, reflect, and evolve. And that is what we do as ladies who are kicking ass.